Welcome to Blue Collar Reformation, PBR here again with the doctrine of vocation. We've been talking about the doctrine of vocation in the sense that God cares about our work. God has given you your work, your place in the workplace, whatever vocation that you have, whatever line of work you're in, as your sacred calling. That work is part of our religion. And so today I'm going to talk about specifically selecting a vocation and then executing a vocation. So with selecting a vocation, a lot of times, like a young person, young man is going into a field and he has an aspiration for something, and parents know. It's like, oh man, I don't know if this kid really has the aptitude for it. And sometimes really surprises the parents because a young man can do quite a few things that are pretty amazing. A lot of times you'll see that if you just give them some space, they'll figure it out, they'll rise to the occasion. At other times, there are times when parents, when they're helping their child select a vocation, may say, you should really go over here because you may want to do that thing. You may be good at that thing, but the market is saturated. The opportunity is not there, and it's very highly regulated by the government. Whatever it is, there could be all kinds of things that will end up leading somebody not to execute a certain kind of vocation that maybe he or she has dreamed about. But when you're selecting a vocation, you have to think about what William Perkins gives as criteria, and he gives three criteria that are helpful for selecting a vocation. And they are means, motive, and opportunity. So, means refers to you having the ability or giftings, the natural giftings or the spiritual giftings for the particular vocation that you have interest in. That is, you have the skill set, you have the demeanor, you have the ability to actually execute the vocation, or at least you have the potential of the kind of person who would be able to fulfill a certain kind of vocation. If you don't have the means, you kind of have to say, well, I guess that ship has sailed and I need to go to something else. A second category, a second thing that would help us is what Perkins calls motive. You have to actually want to do it. There has to be some desire there. Now, this can be a very fleeting thing today because everybody has been told that you need to go and follow your dreams. Do what you love and you'll love what you do. Now, a lot of this has been clearly rejected by uh, many people who have taken on vocations that they didn't necessarily love, but they knew that they needed a vocation. And if, with the right attitude of thankfulness to the Lord, they receive that vocation and they've executed that vocation, eventually they find they actually are into that vocation. It's kind of amazing the things that you can get interested in, you can have a passion for. And what you find is that God will sanctify that to you and he will bless you in executing that vocation. In fact, there's a lot of strategy to taking on a vocation that sometimes may not be as attractive at first as you think it would be because there's a huge market for it. And what you find is that your heart changes to it as you receive it from the Lord. So motive is a difficult one, but you do want to have some motive. Like, I want to do this. I think that it's good. It might not be fun, but I think that it's good. It might not be easy, but I think that it's good. And that you need to basically think about that, do some soul searching about what are your motives when you're entering a vocation. And then the third, so you have means, motive, and opportunity. So the opportunity is that you actually have the situation come up. You have the place in life come up. And this also applies to like who you're going to marry, who you're going to select to marry. You may have an ideal set of what you expect for the person you want to marry. And so young man is looking for a young woman with a certain list of things. He has this list and he's not going to budge on the list of what he expects. And then he finds out that the only people who fit that list that he happens to know he has the opportunity of are disqualified for various reasons or would not really be the kind of person he'd want to spend time with because of personality reasons or whatever. So what you find out is that you have to have the opportunity and you have to look biblically at these things, which then results in us thinking about how to actually execute a vocation. So the first is how to select a vocation, then how to execute a vocation. When you're executing a vocation, what you want to do is the basics that any old guy is going to tell you. Show up early, work really hard, pay attention to what you're told, do the things that you're supposed to do. Sometimes you got to start as the guy in the ditch, digging the ditch. And while three guys are standing around watching, because only one guy can fit inside the ditch to dig the ditch, you have to become that guy. You have to humble yourself to spend the time to lay your foundation of your reputation as a man of integrity and of hard work and of usefulness and skill, and that everybody has to go through this. There are different iterations in every vocation. You can't just show up the first thing and be the guy in charge. It just doesn't happen that way. You have to earn respect by little drops, drop after drop after drop. And you get that by way of your integrity. So character is everything. And character is shown through the way that we do the things that we do. And it's important for us to recognize this. Sometimes if we do things amateurish, then it reflects that we have an amateurish way of thinking about something, that we don't take it very seriously. And if you make a mistake like that, the best thing to do is to take it on the chin, take responsibility for it, and then just keep executing the vocation. And you'll show that you're also teachable in it. So there's basic things. Show up on time, execute the vocation, listen to what you're told. And then if you're corrected, make sure that you are correctable, that you can listen to the correction that you get and then grow from it and learn from it. And a lot of times too, here's another thing. And in fact, there's a book I'm going to talk about with regard to this, is you want to make sure that you are listening and learning from other people who do the work. My dad was a carpenter, and he got really good at carpentry because he always tried to learn something from everybody. And people are actually really happy to teach you things. If you go into a trade and you humble yourself and you go to somebody and you say, hey, will you teach me how to do this? Usually, first off, they're flattered because they would love to be respected like that. And second off, they'll usually tell you the tricks of the trade because you came to them humbly, seeking to have like the skills that they have because you appreciate what they're doing. They know that you appreciate what they're doing, and it ends up resulting in that you get more skills, and then they have somebody they can trust who's reliable, who's going to help them out. Maybe they can delegate some more stuff to. So those things, the basics are what you need to do with your vocation, especially when you're starting to execute a vocation, is that you make sure that you humble yourself, you learn how to do it, you learn all the things, you make sure that you're willing to do what is necessary to do in the vocation to learn it. Because everybody starts in the ditch, and eventually you end up being the guy who's running different things, but it takes time. So when you're beginning to execute a vocation, you need to think about these basics. And one book that I want to point out to everybody is a book called Durable Trades by Rory Groves. Now, this is an important book because basically what it does is it explodes a lot of the modern ideals about the way that we need to be pursuing work. And this puts it very practically. So I highly recommend, if you're looking for a vocation, looking to get into a trade or to start a business, as a Christian, look at this book, study this book thoroughly. The first part is about the nature of different kinds of work and different categories we should use to think through it. The second part is actually going through a lot of different vocations themselves, different kinds of work in different fields. And the third part is thinking practically about the theology of it and some practical steps to take. So I highly recommend this book. I've been using it with a lot of different people over the years. And as you can see, my copy is pretty much worn out at this point because I've loaned it to people, got it back. I've read it a couple times myself, and it's been super useful. So I recommend this book. Rory Groves, Durable Trades. This is PBR signing off. Thank you for watching Blue Collar Reformation. We are here to equip you with wisdom of the Word. The aim is to apply the system of doctrine taught in Scripture to every square inch of faith and life. We are on Twitter and Substack for your sake. Links are in the description. Share with your recalcitrant and reprobate friends and family freely. Blue Collar Reformation is a lightweight and mobile outreach platform. Take it in hand and enter the fray. Godspeed.